I'm Ari Gronich, and this is Create a New Tomorrow podcast. Welcome to a special live edition of Create a New Tomorrow. I am your host, Ari Gronich, and I have with me this amazing writer and nutritionist, Kelly Haugh. Kelly, why don't you tell the crowd, the audience, a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Kelly, and I'm a certified health and wellness coach, and I really specialize in helping people with stress and anxiety, gut health issues, and how they're all connected. I love hiking and being out in nature.
Cool. So how did you get involved in the health industry, and especially in the nutritional side?
So, going back a little ways, what kind of sealed the deal for me was really my daughter who has autism. My daughter she just turned 14. And so it's basically been a 12 and a half, 13-year trek with her, with finding out she had leaky gut, dysbiosis, a lot of gut issues going on that were affecting her behaviorally, as well as, she just didn't feel very good.
So how did you find out that there was a connection between her emotions and how she was feeling and acting and gut health?
So when we first learned that she had the gut health issues going on along with her autism, autism was new to us at the time. We weren't familiar, but we found out kind of quickly then that really most kids with autism have a lot of gut issues. And whether it's the chicken and the egg, you never know. But so we really researched and sought out what could we do for her to help improve her health and her behavior more, than just she's kind of stuck with this.
So what were the benefits that you guys have seen based on changing diets and plans with her?
So definitely behavior. She will be, in a much better mood, as well as she sleeps better. And also she has a seizure disorder. And when we did like a modified keto diet for her and added in some supplements that were really good for gut health, once her gut was more in order, those seizures really started going down, which was great because they're terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what is it that you really want people to know about when it comes to, you as a health coach, as a person who deals with nutrition on a daily basis? What's the most important thing for people to know?
There's many very important things. But the thing that pops out in my head when you say the most important, I would think, get off that standard American diet, because that is really bad. It is the standard American, and it's sad for you. It makes you feel sluggish and gross, and you can't think clearly, you get brain fog, all of that. And so adding in, I always like to have people add in more and more good healthy foods, and then start slowly taking away the things that aren't that good for them. But that's a really important piece, and a lot of people don't realize that that can really affect their mood and affect how well their brain's functioning.
Absolutely. So what about the standard American diet? I mean, think about it. If you're talking to people who are eating that standard American diet on a regular basis, they probably don't really know what exactly about that plan and about that system is so broken. So why don't you enlighten the audience about what about that system is really broken?
Right. Okay. So I would say the first thing would be like chemical added preservatives, additives, food coloring, food dyes, neurotoxins, really basically for people. And so when we're talking that, it's, you're talking, Doritos, the nacho cheese Doritos, and, pop and all of those things. And really, in my opinion, diet pop is even worse than regular pop. If you really want some pop, have a little bit of regular. instead of adding in even more chemicals and additives.
Yeah, I would even go further and say find the soda, if you're going to have soda, that is either got cane sugar,
Yeah.
right, and it's preferably organic, or monk fruit. There are some keto sodas, I guess, that are coming to the market,
right,
that have no sugar, but they're not the artificial sweeteners either.
Yeah, even a stevia soda, no, we want to steer away from all that. But if it's somebody who, they drink a 6-pack of Coke a day, you're going to be hard pressed to tell them you have to stop having that completely. You're going to have to kind of back them off. And like you say, then you can replace it a little bit with some of these other things. So, that's one thing, one aspect, right? So the chemicals, the preservatives, all those other things you're adding into your body that your body doesn't want with the standard American diet. And of course, loads of carbs, you're not getting more proteins, more plants, all of that type of thing.
So talk about the fact that there are no essential carbs. Because I think the people think, especially based on the food pyramid that they've been indoctrinated with, that carbs are the most important thing in your diet.
Right.
So the fact that there is no such thing as an essential carb might be an interesting fact for some people to learn about.
Yeah, for sure. Right, because if you think of that standard pyramid that we've seen for ages, right? Really, that thing should be tipped upside down, basically. Carbs in the form of leafy vegetables and, sweet potatoes and things like that. Those are fine and dandy. But lots of all the white stuff, the refined carbs, full of gluten, and then just turns straight to sugar in your body.
Right. So I've talked a lot about gluten and the fact that gluten itself is a poison, and you may not be gluten intolerant.
Right.
To the level that some people are, but everybody is gets an inflammatory response to gluten. So why don't we talk a little bit about gluten and what they do, grains and what they do, and why the fallacy is there that grains are so important and so on.
Right. So I love that. I did actually talk about that a little bit in my book about gluten, and it makes some people sad to even hear that, but it's really not good for anybody, right? I mean, some people are way more tolerant of it, but as it builds up in your system, it's really not good for you. It's not good for anybody, and especially because anymore, any wheat, therefore gluten you're going to get a hold of is going to be GMO. So you're going to have the glyphosate in there, you're full of pesticides, very bad for your whole digestive tract.
Right. So most people don't really understand what glyphosate is or what Roundup does to food and what it means, what genetically modified means, really. They don't understand necessarily the whole nature of what genetically modified is and what the difference between hybridization and genetically modified is. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. In the GMO, in the seeds themselves, they genetically modify those actual seeds. And so even though they may not have already sprayed something on it as it's grown, they haven't come back by and sprayed, it's already in there. You are not getting rid of that. It's a part of the plant. And so no amount of rinsing it is going to get rid of it. And so that gets in your body, and it's very hard for your body to get rid of it. And of course, it's a neurotoxin as well as it's bad on the digestive tract, and it can cause cancer.
Yeah, so, I like to get into the history of certain things, and the history of that company is an interesting history. They were responsible for things like the Manhattan Project, but even prior to that in the United States, they were responsible for the gas that went into the gas chambers.
Right.
And during the Holocaust, they were responsible for the or Agent Orange during the war and mustard gas, right? So they were actually the chemical manufacturers, and now they pretty much own something around 90% of all the food in the entire world.
The whole food chain.
The entire food in the entire world. And I believe that they just last year were allowed to merge with Bayer.
They did.
Who is a pharmaceutical company, which is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. And Bayer happens to be now also, it's a German company as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so almost all of our pharmaceutical products that are designed to treat us when we're sick
right.
are made by the same company that's making our food, which is making us sick.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So audience, I want you to really kind of get this, how things connect and how things tie down, because this is a really important fact.
It is.
For people to understand, is that their entire food chain is being controlled by one company that also controls a major percentage of the pharmaceutical market.
Right.
Right?
Because they can get you with their chemicals one way or another.
Well, it's definitely a way to continue on the cycle of business.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So wasn't that illegal for companies to conglomerate that way?
It's
Didn't we have a law?
Yeah.
I thought we had a law about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, but deep pockets get far, unfortunately.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. So what would you say to the average American, or even, consumer worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
that's eating this kind of food and may not know what it is or why it is? What would be the things that they can look at to tell if the food that they're eating is safe or if it's going to make them sick, even if it's a long-term sickness?
Right. Okay. So my answer on that offhand is twofold. One would be every year the Environmental Working Group, EWG, does a Dirty Dozen, Clean 15, which is a really good list for people to go off because I have a lot of clients that will say, well, we can't afford to feed our whole family organic food and things like that. So if you at least look at this list, it's helpful. That way, the dozen that year that are the worst, you can stay away from and be sure you get organic. And then the Clean 15 is basically, there might be some residual pesticide, et cetera, but it's a lot less. So it's a better way to go for people who don't go totally organic. And the other thing would be there's the things to look for that are mostly GMO: corn, soy, wheat, sugar beet, all here in the U.S. at least. Those are very, highly GMO.
Right. What's the difference between sugar beets and beets?
Sugar beet, they actually get the sugar out of it. A beet is actually grown in the ground, and primarily it's going to be the red beet or the golden beet. That's totally different.
Gotcha. So when you hear beet sugar, you don't have to be worried about juicing if you're, say, a raw foodist.
Right.
We juice a lot of beets.
Yeah, beets themselves are great. Yes.
So don't get those two mixed up.
It does sound confusing. Yeah.
Basically.
I understand that. Right.
Cool.
So those are a couple of ways, just to know, like in general, these crops tend to be bad. So especially, it's back to the gluten. So the gluten's not good anyway, but if you're going to eat wheat, you want to have organic wheat, and especially, and if you don't have the refined wheat, like you have the actual just stone ground wheat, that's way better for you. Then I'm not promoting it because I don't think it's great, but I'm just saying it's easier for some people to think, well, I can't possibly do all of this. And so they just want to give up. And so you want to kind of highlight, like, if you start with these things, it's going to be the most helpful to you and easy for you to do.
Right. So here's my problem with grains, and this is a general issue with grains,
right.
Is that let's say, take the scenario that we're taking a mineral supplement and trying to get the minerals right in our bodies.
Right.
And then we eat whole grain bread because it's marketed as healthy or healthier alternative.
Right.
Right. So those grains absorb minerals
Right.
and then pass them through you to where you don't get to absorb the minerals because they're very spongy. If you look at a piece of bread, look at a piece of crumb cake, any of those kinds of things. They're kind of spongy. Cakes, breads, pastas, spongy.
Yep.
The spongy absorbs. It's absorbent.
Right.
We can all kind of get with
Sure.
that. And so if you're taking a mineral supplement while you're also eating breads and glutens and carbs and grains,
Right.
you're literally flushing down all of the money that you're putting into those mineral supplements. Right. You're flushing that down the toilet.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is just one of the reasons why. Now, if you have mineral deficiencies of any kind, like iron and you're anemic, if you have insulin issues, if you have, those are all because of mineral deficiencies.
Right.
And so eating the bread doesn't necessarily equal a good, healthy response to the other things that you might be doing. It actually might harm that response, even if you're not getting a massive inflammatory response to where you recognize it. Correct?
Yeah, I agree. And especially too with if you're saying somebody who has a blood sugar issue or an insulin issue, they shouldn't be eating bread anyway. That's very counterproductive.
Right.
So, on many levels. Yeah.
Right. So, give a few recommendations on what it is that you'd like to see happen within the systems. Like if you're talking to a government employee right now, which I love talking to government employees that have control over whether they're about to be able to put more chemicals in our environment or less.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Right. So I love talking to the government officials, but let's say we're talking to some government officials right now, and we're giving them some solutions to the ills of bad health and the systems of agriculture that we're going through currently. Right. What are some solutions that you would suggest?
Boy, that's a big one, isn't it?
Absolutely. I like the big question.
I know. What I don't know is if they're going to listen, and it does depend on who is it, what is their lobby toward, what's their propensity, but what do I think could be done? I mean, definitely don't let anything else get added that is bad for us. Absolutely. And I don't know, because it is such a deep pocket issue, if you're going to get that reversed on the whole GMOs and the whole seeds and everything like that. That's tough. But maybe they could be touting organic foods. Maybe they could, that could even be part of, if not part of the new food pyramid, even if it could just be, they could at least, as a public service message, talk about chemicals in the food and, eating organic or things like that. That wouldn't be that hard for them to do. But I don't know that they have a slant to do that.
Right. So I'm an idealist. So I believe that anything is possible.
Sure.
As long as enough people force it to become possible.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the things that I'm looking at being possible, for instance, let's say, is hydroponic gardens in local communities.
Absolutely.
Because you can control what is put in. You don't need the pesticides.
Right.
Because it's a controlled environment. Yep. You can grow it year-round. You put it into farmers markets. You put it into high schools. You put it into elementary schools. And now all of a sudden you have free labor because you're teaching the kids how to grow food.
Right.
Right? So this is just one of many possible solutions. If you're in a big city, there are now skyscraper gardens.
Oh yeah, which is really exciting, right?
That can feed an entire city what it needs, because you can create, different levels with different kinds of food. So you have a lot of variety, and it's all hydro and aeroponic. This is a solution to big cities. My favorite one, I think, my favorite one is in parks, public parks. there's land,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So every other tree, instead of being an oak tree or a pine tree, which really doesn't do a lot for our health
Right.
or for our food supply,
Mhm.
apple tree, orange tree, figs, different trees inside a park. That's your real fast food now.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You could
Absolutely.
pick a fruit off the tree.
Mm-hmm.
If you're homeless, you have plenty of food to eat.
Yeah. Right. Could help.
Doesn't solve
the problem.
Yeah, it doesn't solve the homeless issue, but
no,
it at least gives them some food.
they would have some food. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You can. I was thinking, like, I wanted to create a mass movement of people throwing berry seeds all over the freeways. So the sides of the freeways are covered in fruit.
Yeah. Boy, wouldn't that be cool?
Wouldn't that be cool? You get, you pull over for a quick break.
Absolutely.
You get a fruit off a tree. You get a couple of handfuls of berries, and you go on your way all nicely energized.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There are so many solutions.
And yeah, it's not like that couldn't happen, right? It's not like this couldn't be a thing.
Right. It's not like it would be very difficult.
Right.
It's not like it would cost a lot of money.
Right.
So I'm talking to you, governors, senators, government officials. If you're in charge, you're being talked to right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and like you say, it's not going to take that much. It's certainly not that much money. Definitely not. Even labor. I mean, and you could probably get the whole community to go out and do the actual planting and everything.
Right, and especially if you're feeding. Now, look at it from a different angle. You're feeding the community in which you're living in.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Food's not being transported as much.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's really good.
Right? So we're saving gas.
Mm-hmm.
We're saving energy and electricity and other kinds of units of things that we would normally be wasting.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So what else can we do? Just let's give them solutions to the issues, because I think most people know that there's an issue, even if they don't know what that issue is.
Right.
I think they know that there's an issue with our health, with the world, with our food, with those things. Government, if you wanted to save money, you could probably stop subsidizing food that's unhealthy. Because most of the people, I don't think people realize that they're being fed food, the cheap food, that is actually a lot more expensive than some of the other food that you could be eating that's healthier.
Right.
But it's cheap in the stores because your tax dollars are being taken for them.
Absolutely. I think people don't know that at all.
So
they don't know about that.
You're being enlightened.
You're paying for it one way or another. And definitely at the end, you're paying for it with bad health.
Absolutely.
Which of course is going to cost you a lot more in the long run.
Absolutely. So if I were to take a step back now, and I'm just going to spotlight on you and your background, what you've been able to do, and what your message really is to people, what would you say?
Well, so, I mean, my main message, I'm out to give people hope, and I'm out to help people know that there is something more they can do. I always want people to be asking, what else can I do? Because that, and throughout my life's journey and the things I've been through, which has been many very major things that most people might go through one, but I've been through like 4. What else can I do? That question literally saved my life and the life of my daughter, figuring out what else can I do and not just take that blanket. Here's all there is. You can't accept that as the answer. So if you have an issue, an underlying health issue, autoimmune issue, chronic inflammation, chronic stress, anxiety, gut issues, any of that, it doesn't matter what your particular issue is, there's always something different, better, and more that can be done. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's go by symptoms. If you're experiencing foggy brain, bloating, gas, crazy heat, and then cool, your temperature is deregulated. If you're experiencing symptoms of diabetes and insulin-resistant heart disease, chronic pain, you too could be affected by the sad
It's so true. Absolutely.
So let's talk about like brain fog and things like that. I've been told recently that they're trying to reclassify Alzheimer's and dementia as type 3 diabetes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because this is affecting, I don't know, my grandmother had Alzheimer's. She didn't know who I was for the last, I don't know, maybe almost 10 years of her life.
Yeah.
Couldn't speak English anymore.
Really
She could
hard.
only speak Spanish. I mean, she had no idea who she was other than the 16-year-old and before girl.
Wow.
So it's very personal for me. You know, how would you suggest somebody who's experiencing dementia and Alzheimer's and brain fog in general, they're going to work and they're going, what am I supposed to be doing here? You know, what would you suggest as a change to their plan that they can do immediately to start feeling different and better?
So on the lighter note of brain fog versus dementia, Alzheimer's, all of those types of things, because those are a heavier issue, although the same types of things absolutely affect it. But somebody just experiencing brain fog, you know, something they could do would be, number one, cut out sugar. And then number two, cut out the refined carbs that turn straight to sugar in your body, because that all leads to brain fog. Another thing is good, you know, having enough good, healthy bacteria in your gut versus unhealthy bacteria, because that's dysbiosis when you have too much bad bacteria. So adding in better.
How do they do that?
How do they do that? They can do it by particular strains of probiotics with prebiotics with them, as well as fermented foods, which have pre and probiotic foods in them.
Like kimchi and sauerkraut?
Kimchi, sauerkraut, yeah, those
What
are
else?
great. Well, kombucha, there's a variety, a big variety. And I teach fermented foods classes that people can make them at home on their own and realize it's not that hard to do, which is really cool. But those also eating, you know, a lot of the good plants and getting a big variety, because you're getting some pre and probiotics that way. And especially if it's organic, and you don't want to wash the crap out of that organic food. You actually want some of that good soil on there because it's actually good for you, and you're adding in good bacteria that way.
Yeah, remember when you were a kid and you used to have mud pies, and the mud pies were tasted like dirt because it was actual mud?
Because it was dirt, yeah.
It
but it was actually good for you.
That actually kept your immune system really well strengthened.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
This whole thing.
It's so good for you.
This whole thing about being antibacteria, virus is a bad word these days, but antibacteria, antivirus, antifungus.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
These are things that we've learned. Fungus created penicillin.
Right.
It was really good for you. You know, magic mushrooms, psilocybin, that helps people with PTSD, with emotional trauma release, with all kinds of you know, health issues, right? Yeah. So this is something that we've been taught to avoid.
Right.
But we love mushrooms in our food, on our steaks, on our chicken. I mean,
saute a mushroom, yeah, that's great.
Exactly. So it's not avoid these things. It's actually, these are the things that help keep us healthy, that they've been telling us, the system's been telling us we need to avoid.
Right. Yeah, when everything's just so sterile and you have, you know, you're actually getting rid of your good bacteria as well then, and you don't want to do that.
Right. Even I was told recently, mouthwash, if it's got that high alcohol content in the mouthwash, it'll kill all the bacteria in the back of your mouth. And all that good bacteria that's in the back of your mouth is the stuff helping to keep you from getting heart disease. Right.
It does. And it also, that is actually what also keeps you from getting actually sick. You know, you want all the good bacteria to be there. You don't want to wipe it out.
Right. So then how can we get the good bacteria and get clean smelling breath instead of garlicky, oniony, mushroomy breath?
Well, you know, minty is fine. You just don't want to have the alcohol based, and fluoride isn't good for you either. Just, you know, mint, baking soda, you can use a little essential oil. You know, you're actually getting your mouth clean, but not wiping out.
Maybe a little activated charcoal in there, some turmeric.
Charcoal, right. MCT oil is great,
Mhm.
but in a good way, antibacterial, fungal, viral, all of that. But it's not going to kill off all your good stuff. So, yeah.
These are really amazing gems. I just want the audience to really get the grasp of what they're getting here, because we're getting into the nitty gritties of food choices and lifestyle choices that people can make
Absolutely.
in order to really alter their health. Because I know for me and my story, I went so many years trying so many things and having Dr. Google let me down one search after another.
Right.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And so many people are doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They're listening to Dr. Google, who changes tune every week or algorithm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely right. And one Dr. Google is way over here and one is way over here. And so then it leaves the average person not knowing, what am I supposed to believe? And part of my whole thing is I've waded through all the shit so you don't have to.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing that. It wasn't what I was going to do. I'm not a fan of wading through shit, but what I am a fan of is getting to the nitty gritty of this stuff.
Right.
And what's a really good argument for eating grass-fed organic beef and meats in general, rather than eating the standard meat diet, the standard
meat,
right, the feedlot meat,
right?
And just one of those, based on what you're saying, is the antibiotics that they're giving the cows are then going into us, killing our good bacteria.
Absolutely.
Right. So talk a little bit about how that wreaks havoc.
It wreaks havoc on your whole digestive system and your gut health. Again, you want all the good bacteria you can have, and to squelch down that bad bacteria. The cows literally that are on the feedlot, they actually have a thing right in their ear, and it's an injectable antibiotic that they get this slow dose of the entire time they're there. I don't think people realize that.
So it's basically like a diabetic's insulin
pump, but it's an antibiotic pump in their ear that they get the whole time that they're there. And so, even if he might have been out on a pasture, for part of his life, he's now been moved here and he's here a good bit of time, just taking in all these antibiotics. Now they're going to, slaughter him. And now you are definitely ingesting those antibiotics.
Right. So that whole saying, you are what you eat, is not quite true, because you're not a cow, but you will be one if you eat one of these.
Right. Yeah. It is you are what you eat, but you are what you are eating as well.
You are what you're eating
or where your plants are sitting, right? Yeah. Either way, you are getting whatever that is as well. And it's not just, oh, well, that's fine. It was in him. It doesn't matter. No, you're literally taking that in, and now you are consuming that.
Yeah, so I was listening to a paleontologist once, and we were at a dinosaur park. And I think it was my son's birthday, and somebody asked a question about the dinosaurs that are, meat eaters versus those that are vegetarian, and and the guy said, well, the dinosaur who eats the vegetarian gets all the nutrients of the vegetarian, dinosaur, because they're getting what that dinosaur ate.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So even if they never eat a plant, they're getting all the plant nutrients through the meat. That was really fascinating, because a lot of people, especially in this culture that we've been moving towards, which is vegan, vegetarian, which I don't think is a bad thing in and of itself.
Right.
It's a necessary thing, because we absolutely never ate the amount of meat that we're eating as a nation daily. Right. If I eat meat a couple times a week, that's a good amount. That's kind of more on par, right, with our traditional diet. So we're not supposed to be eating 3 meals a day of meat. Right. But if we're eating meat that's not been raised on a pasture eating grass, but has been
Right.
raised in a feedlot or one of these places where they've got the antibiotics,
Yeah.
you're literally killing your gut,
Oh,
which is killing your brain.
right.
And how does
Absolutely.
it kill your brain? To kill your gut.
Well, because your good gut bacteria absolutely send signals to your brain all day long. Gut to brain, brain to gut, but more gut to brain. And so, a lot of people don't know about that. More and more people have at least heard of it, but highly important. And like with what you said earlier about the dementia and everything, when we are consuming the chemicals, lots of gluten, all of that affects your brain. And all the other, the chemicals are very neurotoxic, very bad to the brain.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is for sure. So neurotoxins. Let me just kind of get to that because we talked about fluoride when we were talking about toothpaste, and I just want you to know the history of fluoride in water supply.
Yeah.
Because in water supply, they know absolutely 100% that it does nothing for teeth. It only works for teeth if it's directly applied, and even that is questionable as far as the form of fluoride that's used.
Right.
But fluoride was used originally by Hitler's, army in order to control the soldiers, because the soldiers would be a lot more suggestible to their orders when their neurotoxin level was lower. It basically made their cognitive function and critical thinking skills drop and diminish so that they'd be more easily considered sheep.
Yeah.
I know that's not a necessarily nice word, but it's the word that they would have used. They could be manipulated. They could be herded as sheep.
Right.
So I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed it. The amount of decline in cognitive function,
it's horrible.
critical thinking, common sense, and the ability of a nation or a world to be herded. Right? We've seen that a little bit lately.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to talk about why we saw this lately. I don't know what it was that caused 2020 to become an interesting experiment in herd mentality, herd immunity, herd mentality, being herded into our stables, so to speak, right? Yeah. So if you were wondering what that might be, it could be the fluoride in your water. It could
certainly contribute.
It could be the pesticides in your food. It could be all of these things that can contribute to cognitive decline.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed cognitive decline in your friends and family?
At least a little bit.
A little bit? Have you noticed it?
I'd say in general, yeah. The population at large, yes. I know what you're saying, yeah.
Do you know that in the late 1800s, early 1900s, a fifth grader going to school is learning about the same material as we're learning in freshman year of college right now?
That's crazy.
Is that a little odd?
That's really odd.
Is that a little odd? I think it's odd.
Absolutely.
That we have declined so much in our cognitive function that we can't even, they're not even teaching us. And I think part of it is that we like our children to be children.
Well, yeah. At least a little bit.
I'm not sure if that was how nature intended it.
Right.
For children to be children for so long.
For so long, yeah.
I
understand that. Also in the 1800s, right? They didn't have the distractions. Just everywhere distractions.
This is true.
This, that, the other.
They didn't go as fast.
Squirrel, this. People are just like, go, go, go. And I do think that's part of it too, is just, I get the kid part, which is a little different, but still just the stress level that everybody's under also affects the brain immensely.
Yeah, I was watching it, or I was reading a book to my son. I read him these books they're called the value books, and they all have a different value and then a historical character that emulated that value.
Okay.
So we just did Understanding with Margaret Mead.
Okay, cool.
And Margaret Mead, if you don't know, she was a famous anthropologist who went to different islands. She was the first anthropologist to actually go to where the people are that she was studying and lived with them, amongst them. So before that, anthropologists would study in books.
Right.
They never went out to the location to study.
Actually.
But she went to the location. So she went to the Samoan Islands. And on the Samoan Islands, she found that they raised their kids a very certain way. By the time they were 6, they were already starting to learn how to cook and take care of the younger siblings and do all that. They still had their playtime, but they had a lot of responsibility. By the time they were 13, they were basically able to take care of an entire family and, look at getting married. They were able to choose their partner, their wife or husband.
Mm-hmm.
And they found that as adults, they were really, really happy.
That's great.
And then she went to another community, and the kids had no responsibility. They were just able to play all day long, all the time.
Right.
No responsibility, but they didn't learn how to live as adults. We call this now adulting.
Adulting. Adulting.
This is a term we needed to use. Adulting. I'm adulting now.
Adulting.
Yes. Are you adulting? I'm
adulting. Yeah.
So they found that those people as adults were miserable, angry, not having fun. They didn't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
Their marriages were arranged.
Right.
They didn't have the choice in who they would marry. They had to pay a humongous fee for that wife, to the family. So they were in debt the whole time. I mean, they had all these different things that kept them from being happy.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting to me to learn how the Samoans were so happy because they knew how to take care of each other. So all the responsibilities did not cause them stress because they had the tools.
They all knew how to do it, and they could all share in it.
They knew how to do it. They could share in it. They had the tools, and nothing could come as a surprise, really, that would stress them out as much because they had already experienced all those things.
Right.
Really fascinating.
That is, yeah.
To me.
Very.
Yeah. I just thought I'd bring that up in case anybody was thinking that our kids are getting, a little too complacent with their iPads and YouTubes and stuff like that, not quite learning about how to learn, but learning how to ask Siri how to learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in case anybody ever thought about that. I know when I was a kid, we used to go out to the fields and pick berries every now and then. It wasn't a regular thing, but during berry season, we'd go out and pick a bucket full, and we get to keep half of what we picked.
Yeah, that's great.
And we had jobs early, but nowadays they have these iPads, and now my son is doing a YouTube channel.
Oh boy.
Gabriel Ryan Gronich is his YouTube channel. Go subscribe. He's collecting silver and has 5 businesses.
Nice.
That's great. Pretty nice,
Yeah.
Yeah. He was going to school,
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher asked him how he was feeling.
Uh-huh.
He said angry. The teacher said, "Why are you angry?" He said, "I have 5 businesses, and nothing you're teaching me is going to help me with one of them." Now that is a 6-year-old worth watching, right?
Oh, no kidding. He's on fire.
He is.
He's gonna do it.
He's gonna rule the world one day, which is really cool for me because
cool.
I get to watch and hopefully be a good support, right?
Yeah, that's.
But I also get to feed him well, so he has cognitive function.
Right.
He's had no vaccines.
Very good.
I know there's a lot of controversy about vaccines. I'm not completely against them as a concept, but I think that they were really designed more to emulate homeopathics. And they kind of lost their way when they stopped putting them in little sugar pellets and started putting them in formaldehyde, mercury, and thermite and all kinds of other stuff, right?
Bad. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, if you're a vaccinating person and you would say, "Oh, he's an anti-vaxxer," yes, just so you know. But there's a reason why. Do you know all the reasons why you would never want your kids to be vaccinated with the current schedule and the current way of producing the vaccines? Just caveating.
Well, number one, that's a big subject for me. I would first just say for people who are gung-ho on vaccines, you absolutely need to spread them out. Absolutely. Even if you're going to do them, no matter what anybody says, that's fine. But you should at least spread them out so your child isn't overloaded with a whole bunch of chemicals all at once. It's very bad for the body. My daughter, actually, I don't think you knew this part, but we're pretty well convinced that she has autism because of her vaccines. She was tracking along normally till 6 months, and then she had 5 vaccines at once, which we were told was totally fine, totally normal. And at the time, no longer, we believed the doctors know what they're doing. They're trained, they're well trained, all of that. Now I say you have to ask, is there something different, better, and more? But she was never the same after that. And so basically she had an underlying, issue going on. We didn't know about an immune issue. You put all that in a little baby and the body goes berserk basically because, it's trying to get rid of that, attack it. And so I kind of like you, I'll say, well, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but you have to be very on your own. You need to find out all about every bit of information you can about it. And does your kid really need it? And absolutely, no matter what, I want people to know they need to spread those apart. One vaccine at a time, that's it. Because if there's any issue going on underlying and you don't know about it, you're going to know about it way too soon.
And you'll find out if you do it one at a time, which one caused it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Then you would know. Yeah. The other thing is, if you don't mind me just putting this in here because we're talking about this, I want people to know this because people don't know this at all. So in about first grade then, they wanted to give my daughter the MMR booster because of, at school. We said, absolutely not. She'll never have another vaccine ever. But we were working with this great doctor in California at the time. And he said, all we need to do is a simple blood test, a titers test. Very simple, not much blood at all. So he checked her titers levels for that. She was actually at 4,400% higher than what she should be. So had we gone ahead and gone along with, let's give her this MMR booster, would have been even more detrimental to her health. But he said only 5% of kids actually need that booster, that when they are tested actually need it. 95 don't, but they just give it to everybody, which to me is just pathetic, right? We're going to give it to 95% of kids who don't even need it. It's not right.
It's kind of like quarantining 95% of a population that don't need it.
It's a lot like that, isn't it?
I wouldn't know anything about that.
My gosh.
But that sounds like a similar, these things are really all about one size fits all, so to speak,
Absolutely.
Solutions. And as we know, we are all snowflakes. And I don't mean that in the detrimental, political way of calling people snowflakes. Mm-hmm. I mean that in the way of we are all unique. We are all very individual. And what's good for me is not necessarily good for you. And
Absolutely.
definitely not at the same time.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Everyone's body is different. Everyone's physiology is different. There's so many factors. Everything, it's all multifactorial. And so you have to consider all of that. You can't just blanket everybody into the same thing. It doesn't, you can do it, but it doesn't turn out good.
Right. But if we were to blanket people into the same thing, what would we do? We would probably want to vaccinate everybody because then we'd have everybody on the same playing field, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But what happens when somebody is not, their body can't handle the same thing as somebody else's? We all know the person who could eat 50,000 McDonald's hamburgers and stay skinny.
Right.
And somebody else drives by McDonald's and will get
They're gaining some
will
weight.
get fat, just by driving by the
Absolutely.
place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this is just like, it's a discussion to help get everybody on the same page, but it's the same page as your page,
Absolutely.
your individual page, not the same page that everybody else is
Right.
on, but the page you need to be on yourself, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because everyone is different. Every physiology is different. My mind works different than yours. My gut works different than yours. Everything is different because, and so you can't treat the snowflakes the same.
You can't treat the snowflakes the same.
The snowflakes the same.
This goes for politics as well as food,
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
well as medicine,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
But how do we get how do we get that to be a systemizable thing? Because we all know that everybody needs to systemize everything, right? So how do we get that to be a systemizable thing, especially if doctors aren't allowed, really to meet with you for more than 7 minutes?
Oh my gosh, right?
How long does it take for you to do an assessment as a nutritionist?
It would depend on the person and what they've got going on,
On
but
average,
45 minutes, an hour, as a first,
if somebody's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah. Oh, that could, you would first address the few things going on, and then you would need to revisit and, address more if somebody has a lot of things going on. So you could spend hour and a half, 2 hours. It could end up being 3 or 4 hours. To really get in depth and see what's really going on.
Right. Is that happening?
Not in most cases.
Is your doctor taking an hour and a half to 2 hours to really find out what's going on? And I don't want this to be like I'm bashing doctors, because frankly, I think doctors are heroes that really deserve a lot of medals for their courage, because they've decided to go into a system that literally threatens them if they don't do medicine the way of the insurance and the way of the pharmaceutical companies.
Right. Yeah.
And there's this moral hazard, moral hazard that doctors are going through, because they're looking at the world going, I just want people to be healthy. I want to treat and take care of people.
Right.
And the system is not letting me do that. So, I always go back to the old medicine men and medicine women, and the doctors in the olden days. They would do these things they're unheard of, called house calls.
What?
Ooh, they would show up at your house.
Right.
They would spend time watching you live,
Right.
sometimes a week. And then they would get an idea of what it was in your environment, in your lifestyle, in what you were doing that was causing the problem. And eventually they would be able to then solve that problem.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But the doctor of today is shuttle you in, shuttle you out, and they have a lot of information, and they're trained well, but they don't have all the information, and they aren't trained on everything, because they're trained in their realm, which is primarily pharmaceuticals, et cetera, right? And so, they absolutely have a very important job, and they are heroes and do so many great things, but they have their own realm. And then there's a lot more to health and wellness that they just don't cover.
Right. So you wouldn't want to go to a foot doctor, for instance, if you had a brain tumor. And you don't want to go to a doctor if you have an issue with nutrition. Just like you wouldn't go to a doctor for pain because of a weakness or an accident, who would only be able to give you a medication. Right?
Yeah.
Versus going to a therapist of some sort, chiropractor,
Right.
physical therapist, massage therapist,
Mm-hmm.
personal trainer, who actually deals with injuries
Those types of,
and why they occur, right?
absolutely.
So just kind of get the note. We've started doing things backwards.
Right.
We're not doing things the right direction.
Absolutely.
Because we're looking for this fast pill solution versus
Right.
a lifestyle solution versus a way of living solution.
Right.
And by doing that, what's happened is it takes a really long time to lose weight now because you're literally getting big and then small, and then big and then small, and then big and then small, and then big and then big. And every time you get big, you get a little bit bigger, and every time you get small, it's a little less small, right?
Right.
And it takes a really long time because you go from fast pill to fast pill to fast pill to from fast solution to fast solution versus just taking a look at let's get rid of the fads, let's get rid of the concepts, let's just go back to what was working for the last couple 100,000 years.
Right. Yeah.
Or if you're religious, the last 2,000 years.
Right.
6,000 years, right? Mm-hmm. What was working then is probably going to work better for our system. And what isn't working now probably isn't going to work better in the future, like pesticides and processed foods. And those things are not, our bodies are not ready for that.
No.
At this moment, right?
Right. You can detoxify and get rid of so much, but only so much, right? And if you're constantly putting more and more in and on your body, you're not able to detox all of that and get rid of it.
Yeah, let's talk about makeup and lotions and hair care products and cosmetics as well, and how they play a role in ill health, inflammation, etc.
Right. So those are full of, again, neurotoxins, phthalates, all kinds of bad chemicals. Many of them, like the average woman puts 175 or something chemicals in and on her body every single day, between all her makeup and lotions and everything. And there's lots of natural alternatives out there. There's several you can make your own with different essential oils, things like that. Or there's readily available Whole Foods, Sprouts, stores like that. You can find lots of more natural products.
Yeah, or we have a friend who has Naked Beauty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so people could go to Naked Beauty and get all kinds of
and that's
amazing
that's
products.
Some really good stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So these are the things that we recommend. We're gonna end this episode because I think it's been a really great episode so far.
Great, thank you.
And I'd like to end it on a good note. So give the audience 3 things that's actionable, doable, easily available, ready for them, that they can do right now so that they can create a new tomorrow today for their own health and vitality.
Okay, so number 1, I'd go with, if you're not taking a good pre and probiotic, do that. It can either be in the pill form, a good one, or you can go out and get you a bag of sauerkraut if you don't want to make any. Kombucha, kimchi, any of those. So in any realm of that to get your good gut bacteria going better. Number 2 would be that cutting off or down on the sugar, refined carbs, because that's going to help. Number 1, those feed the bad gut bacteria. So you're having a big feeding frenzy in there, and they squelching down the good. So those kind of go together, but they're different. So cutting out that sugar and refined carb, really important. And the other thing, it's hard to narrow it to 3, but stress is a huge cause of mass amounts of illness for people. So that chronic stress piece, do something to lessen your stress. Okay. So whether that's, you're going to meditate even 5 minutes, you're going to just put on music you love and listen to it. You're feeling, totally stressed out. You're going to look in your environment. You're going to look around to see something pretty, see something enjoyable. What do you feel? Can you feel something that can distract you and calm you down? You want to use the senses and engage the senses to get calmed down a little bit. So those are a few, just, easy things people can do to add in that will actually make a big difference.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Kelly. And you have a new book.
I do. I have a new book out. I'm super excited about it. Mind Your Gut.
Your Gut. Let's see if we could get this to pixelate properly.
And there are many connotations to it. Minding your gut.
Yes.
Yes.
Give a little bit about what this book is about and what people will get from reading it, and then how they can go about finding it and finding you if they want to learn more.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So, it's minding your gut, powering up your immune system, your stress resilience, and your mental wellness through your gut brain. So that whole gut brain piece, which is very important. I talk about the problem with chronic stress, anxiety, depression. I talk a little bit about science in the book, so people know like what is it all about and why should I care. But then I make it very relatable with some stories. And it has some great actionable tips as well that people can use for
Awesome.
de-stressing. So, yeah. They could go to mindyourgutbook.com to find the book itself. You can order on there if you want to. You can definitely read just a little bit more about the book and the journey and how it came to be. Or it is also available on Amazon now.
Awesome. Anywhere else that if they want to get to a hold of you, they can find you on social media?
So my website is manifestnaturalwellness.com. And I do have a Facebook group too, which is it's on the back of this. It is Stress Busters Inc. And they can get a hold of me that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being here. And this has been another episode of Create a New Tomorrow. We are here to create a new tomorrow today, give you the actionable steps to do that. Go check out my book as well, anewtomorrow.com, or it's createanewtomorrow.com, or you could go to Amazon and find it there. It'll give you actionable steps on how you can live your most passionate life today. So thank you so much for being here, Kelly. I really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you, in your book get more publicity, get out there more, and that way we can create much more of an impact on the world. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
We want to change the world.
Change the world.
And again, to the governors, the senators, the politicians that are hiding behind their lobbyists. We're coming for you. Do the right thing. Make the world a healthier place today. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I appreciate all you do to create a new tomorrow for yourself and those around you. If you'd like to take this information further and are interested in joining a community of like-minded people who are all passionate about activating their vision for a better world, go to the website createanewtomorrow.com and find out how you can be part of making a bigger difference. I have a gift for you just for checking it out and look forward to seeing you take the leap and joining our private paid mastermind community. Until then, see you on the next episode.